youtube.com/user/that vidblaster guy. Welcome. Looks like it's just me. So welcome to Tom's stream. I don't know what he's doing. Welcome. I know that there's a petrol station next door that sells a lot of stuff. So maybe he's over there getting a, I don't know, 3-piece of fried chicken. Sounds like something to do. Or maybe he's getting a pizza. It's hard to say. They do offer quite a bit over there at the petrol station next door. A wide variety. Still working? You got this live streaming thing going? Can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
There you go. There you go.
Well,
there it is. Well done.
Part of the problem was I dropped the X keys. And who knows what shortcuts it initiated when I did that. Not only that, but important buttons came off. So I'm not sure about this show. We may
see what happens, I guess.
We may end up streaming to 23 destinations quite by accident. Oh my gosh.
Great.
And so, folks, we're in pre-show, and of course, you recognize my guest tonight, and I was trying so hard to impress him with my technological expertise. But he knows I'm an idiot, so what can I say? So Tommy's here. Andrew's here from down your way. Tim. Scott is here.
Ah, yes.
Randy.
I was talking to Andrew the other day,
Max.
Actually, on the telephone.
People still use those things? No, Maggie, I wasn't blaming the X keys. The fault was mine. It's just that, you guys didn't build it to be dropped upside down and not execute shortcuts. Oh my gosh. And there's RJ. We had a nice meal with RJ and Tim at my place. Didn't we? Did RJ come to the house, or did we go out to dinner?
Oh, no, you did. Yeah. Yeah, to
Yeah.
your place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're pressure testing the X keys to see if it's gonna last. And so far, that's the third time I've dropped it, and it's surviving. It's surviving. So, gee whiz, generally I've got my.
I think,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
just to remember, I think RJ revealed his name to us. Remember his first and what RJ stands for?
That's right.
I think you remember that.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I won't reveal that. I definitely wouldn't dare reveal his name on air.
Who would have thought the J
Not that it's bad. I'm just
stood for Jocelyn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Golly.
Not me.
Okay. Well, let's start the show. What do you say? Can't get any worse. So you ready? I've got my X keys here. My X key 80. Well, right now it's an XK75. We've modified it a little bit. So let's go here. Yep. And then that wasn't supposed to be a cut, but who knows what's really going on. And then let's start the show. Come on, here we go. And the show is going. How about that? That wasn't supposed to happen. Let's try again. It's going to be one of those days, I can tell. We're trying to do a special evening edition of Streaming Idiots, and the wheels are just coming off. I mean, this is like an 18-wheeler with wheels flying off in every direction. Or in this case, X keys are flying off in every direction. I dropped my X keys in pre-show, and it executed I don't know how many different shortcuts. So we're really not sure what's going to happen tonight. But you're here for the ride, and we appreciate you. Big shout out to Maggie, who supplied me with this XK80. She is from PI Engineering, the creators of the X keys, and this is the XK80, which is just a beautiful programmable keyboard. My favorite button, of course, down here is the can't see it, but it's the banana button, which is my cough button. So it's been a crazy world here in live streaming. We are. The phone is ringing off the hook. Everybody wants to learn to live stream. Spent half a day with some judges from a court that want to figure out how to do their proceedings, basically using vMix for part of the process. And so it's been just a lot of fun. And since this is sort of a vMix themed show, especially tonight, we are really fortunate to have, not here in the studio, but joining us from I don't know how many thousands of miles away, probably just about the other side of the earth. I mean, I don't know that you could get any further away than Tim is right now, but let's bring Tim into the show and see if, yeah, there he is. Welcome, Tim. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm all right. Not doing too bad. Busy day yesterday, but it's,
Yeah, it was a great show last night.
Hopefully.
Holy cow, what a great show.
10 o'clock this morning, so it's Thursday, I think. Most of the days are kind of bleeding together. So, yeah, I think it's Thursday morning. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, it's Wednesday evening here in the States. Wednesday afternoon if you're with Dave over there in California, because it's only, 4 o'clock there. But, yeah. Oh, and thank you, Tommy. Tommy said great job on Life for the Journey Sunday night. One of my friends invited me to be on his Sunday night show that is called Life for the Journey, and every Sunday night they talk about their Christian walk. And in this case, he wanted to talk about that in the workplace, and so he invited me to come on. Carl Tenney and Tommy was in the audience, and and heckled me from afar, as is his case. But
It
so
doesn't
thank
sound
you.
like something Tommy would do. It's a bit out of character
No,
for him, isn't it?
no, that's right, especially on a Christian show. Holy cow! But last night we were hanging out at the Sinclair household, and we got to watch the vMix Fun Time live show. And Sandy and I were just hooting and hollering and enjoying the whole show with you and Martin and vMix 24. Holy cow! 8-camera replay at 120 frames a second. That's just amazing. So,
well, not 8 at 120, but two
that's
separate
right.
things.
That's right. It was separate. You know me. I like to put out all sorts of information that's only partially accurate. So,
yep.
Nobody else is listening. Tell us when this beta is really going to come out.
Oh, I have no idea.
You have no idea. So
I mean, I could lie to you and tell you that I knew, but I honestly don't. So,
okay.
No, it won't be today.
If everybody on the show signed a non-disclosure agreement, I mean, if we had a virtual non-disclosure agreement that we could distribute throughout the internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I could tell you.
Then you could tell us. Oh, golly. Okay, well, we'll have to do that for
So if everybody in the chat says, I promise not to tell anybody, then I can tell you. But
there's the challenge, folks.
Whether, that happens.
All he needs is a verbal promise that, and so fill up the chat. Are you watching the chat too?
Oh, I do have it on a window here, but
okay.
I'm trying to adhere to my own tips on how to be a good remote guest and remain, keep eye contact with the camera in front of me. So, I am. I can see the chat, but I'm not looking at it. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're actually going to do another workshop next Friday on online presence, camera presence. I've got a professional in that field to come in and do a workshop. It's going to be a lot of fun.
A professional?
Yeah, that's right. Somebody that actually did this for a living. Worked for news organizations and worked as the communications director for a large school district. And so
nice.
That'll be a week from this coming Friday. Terry Wilhite, you may have bounced off his name a time or two. He did a nice segment in the Worship Summit Part 2. That was held by PTC Optics a couple of weeks ago, where he talked about pastors communicating a message in a time of crisis. He's all about communication. And he said it's just been driving him nuts on watching the news and everything else of all the crazy camera angles and the bad lighting and the bad camera etiquette.
Yeah.
It's like every mistake that could be made, you'll see it all in the same evening. So he thought, well, let's put together a little workshop, see if we can't clean up some of that. So we'll do that next Friday. That'll be fun. It will.
Yeah, I'm not a professional myself, but I felt like it was I'd seen too many of the same things as well, and it's just it's frustrating to see, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, like, thankfully, we've been able to build a studio to be able to do things like this, to be able to have keep eye contact and camera level and make sure that you've got good audio and you've got a sound controlled environment. But you don't have to have that. But people just it feels like there's zero thought sometimes, and all it takes is just a few minutes to work out where might be the best place to do this, and do people want to see up my nose, and that kind of thing. So
all you need is a webcam, right? Just need a webcam.
That's right. Yeah.
So what would be the number one tip that you would give somebody that wanted to do that wanted to either to be a remote guest or have a show? If they learn nothing else from you, what would you share with them?
Yeah, that's easy to do. But I don't know. To me, I'd prefer just to have a good place to be doing it. So even if they're using the webcam inbuilt on their laptop, just to make sure that they're in a quiet room that didn't have a whole bunch of stuff going on, and they weren't sitting in front of a window. I find that really distracting. That's the first thing that kind of annoys me, is if someone's moving their camera around or you can't see them. Audio is important too, but if you're in a controlled environment, then typically, even if it's just the embedded audio from the laptop webcam, at least then, if it's in a controlled room, then that way the audio is going to be clear enough for someone to hear it. So it's all about having that clarity with the audio and not having all this additional noise going on. So yeah, just lock yourself in a room and sit in front of a wall. That's all I would recommend for people to do. But yeah.
Well, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you my number one tip.
Sure.
My number one tip is, and this is for guys, is make a recording of what would be a typical kind of setup and send it to a family member and ask them for comments. And you will get and you will get all sorts of comments about how to improve it. Well, Tim, it looks like the chat room is just filled up with people that are promising not to tell.
If that's the case, then I can tell you when it is. The beta will be out at a time in the future that I don't know the answer to. So that's my answer. So if you were wondering whether I was being honest before, I was being honest. But now that you've coaxed the truth out of me, it is the truth still. So I wasn't lying prior to that. So yeah. So that's unfortunately that is the truth. And I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for that. I mean, when Martin said, "Oh, you know, we'll try and release the beta for the next show," type thing. I don't know whether he said it actually on our live show, but I'm sure I said something like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great." You know, knowing that, you know, you have to kind of live up to that if you promise to have a particular thing out on a certain date. I knew that you know wouldn't necessarily be the case, but yeah, no one could really have predicted. Well, you know, not in the last few months could have really foreseen what would have happened worldwide in regards to the devastation that this whole thing has caused, but just the issues that everyone would have with network infrastructure, internet, and being able to use things like vMix and Zoom and that sort of thing. So no one really kind of predicted that and what would happen over the last month. So there's been a lot of focus of our energy towards, you know, trying to improve that sort of thing and trying to roll with the punches when it comes to using a product with, you know, impaired network infrastructure essentially, and trying to, yeah, help everybody's internet problems from our software. So yeah, that's kind of why things have been a little bit postponed, just to try and maximize, you know, the possibilities of vMix call and everything. So yeah, that's why it's a little bit delayed.
Interesting. So, okay, well that's really encouraging. That's really encouraging because it seemed like between release .46 and .51, you know, there was a new dot version coming out every other day, where you guys had figured out how to fix something else that was going wrong in the internet, or adding some diagnostic tools, or, you know, things like that.
Yeah, it's been difficult. Like it's yeah. I mean, we don't want anyone to ever think that we have built something and we just let it sit not to rot, but we just let it sit there. Obviously, things have changed. Like people don't necessarily consider what's happening right now, like in regards to the way that people are communicating differently. So if you now have the vast majority of people working from home, that's putting extra stress on all of these different internet connections and all of these different networks all around the world. And ISPs are handling that differently. They're prioritizing different data and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of difficult to foresee what might happen and troubleshoot that when the world isn't all working from home and there isn't like a 50% increase in network bandwidth. So it's really impossible for us to kind of test that out. So when it actually happens, then you kind of have to see how you can go about fixing it and trying to provide better diagnostics to see, you know, what needs to improve and what we can do to change things. And so, yeah, it's definitely been challenging, that's for sure. But yeah, it's not something we just sat back and kind of watched. We thought we would try and be as proactive as possible to try and, you know, improve everybody's experiences. So yeah, it's been an interesting little while. So that's for sure.
Well, you know, that hasn't gone unappreciated. I've heard from a lot of folks how impressed they were that you guys were throwing out updates in an effort to try to tweak things. And, of course, you're riding on top of WebRTC, so you can only be as good as that is, and as good as that is in browsers. But I've just continue to be. I mean, somebody asked me yesterday that said, Tom, if you could pick any other software to work with, what would you pick? And I said, I'd pick vMix all over again. Thank goodness for Nick Davidson, who forced me. Nick Davidson forced me to be a vMix reseller. And I built him a system, and I'd used another piece of software on it. And he got back and he said, I can't use this. I just can't use this. You've got to use vMix. And I said, I looked at vMix one time, I couldn't intuitively figure out how it worked. And he said, well, I don't care. You've got to get it, and you've got to give it to me. And so I wrote Martin, and I said, help me. And he helped me. So that was the beginning of this amazing run. That was back at vMix like 12 or something like that. Holy cow. Gee whiz. So, okay. So based on last night's show, the vMix Fun Time Live show, you guys introduced, I didn't see a vMix branded vehicle, but you did introduce a number of vehicles. And so I thought I'd let the folks that are watching have a look at these vehicles and see if they can pick out which one belongs to Tim, because Tim brought one from home, and which one belongs to Martin, because Martin brought one from home. And the two on the far right did not race. The truck was too big, and the Simpson mobile was too light. And what was the other one, Tim, that didn't race? Was it the red one?
Yeah, the three on the right end didn't race. So yeah.
So you know what we could give away for somebody that guesses the right answer. We could give away.
Actually, to make it more difficult, you should extend it to all 7, and we could say that the out of the 7, which one did Martin specifically request? I had to go out of my way to get all of them. So one of them was specifically requested by Martin, but they all kind of share a theme, and you can tell the one that I went out of my way to get a little bit more than the rest of them. So
okay, so we're looking at them again.
Open to interpretation.
Oh my gosh.
So starting from the left, you have the Jurassic Park Jeep. The next one's like a race car that came with the racetrack, so we didn't really try too hard for that one. The next one is the Tokyo Olympics taxi. Then we have a Tesla Roadster with the spaceman in it. So that's the one that got launched into space. Next, we have the just a regular race car that came with the track, then the Simpsons car, and then the Dodge Ram 1500, the red one on the end. So,
wow. Yeah. Wow. Well, okay. So I've already figured out half the answer. Let's see. Okay. It doesn't look like anybody in the chat is responding.
No one's paying attention. No,
they don't care. Okay, so your guess is,
if anybody got it right,
which one
we can just
Martin's?
Make it interesting. If
which
somebody,
one is Tim's?
If whoever gets both of them right, if you don't have vMix Pro already, I'll upgrade you to vMix Pro. How's that sound?
Whoa!
It's a good enough deal, I reckon.
Gee whiz. That's amazing. I was thinking like a mouse pad or something, but you're just going for broke.
I can't send any mouse pads out at the moment. I just feel weird going to the post office and sending people stuff at the moment, just with the way everything is. So
with alcohol.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, unfortunately, I have people requested mouse pads that I couldn't get to at the end of last year, and then they've been on the sort of block to be sent for months and months and months now. So. Yeah. So for those of people that are waiting on mouse pads, I'm really sorry. It's just, not something I'm really comfortable in sending out. So we'll get to them at some point.
Okay. All right.
And if Marie and I don't know whether Jon and Marie are in the chat, they're probably asleep.
Haven't seen them yet.
But I sent them something months and months and months ago.
It's the middle of the night.
And never heard back from them. So I don't know. I'm assuming it didn't get there. So if you're watching this on repeat, Yon or Marie, send me an email because I sent you something like 6 months ago, shortly after IBC.
Wow.
But I don't know whether they got it. So I'm assuming they didn't, but I'd like to know, so maybe I can try sending it again. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, we've lost our entire European audience at this hour of the evening because it's, 2
I understand that.
I mean, they have to be really dedicated. Yeah. They have to really love the show. Where are they? All right, so we got some good guesses here. Rick Mitchell says that you got the Jeep. And who was it? Kenny said that Martin got the Tesla. Those are my guesses too.
You would both be incorrect.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, so we get second choices here. So I'm going to stick with Martin. So are both my answers incorrect or just one of them?
Both are incorrect.
No.
This is great live streaming, by the way.
No way. Well, yeah, I thought so.
I should have had a gold case that I could have opened. You can't really see. I have to hold up there.
So, okay. So
it's difficult because I bought all of them.
Yeah.
But
you bought the Simpson mobile?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm a big Simpsons fan, especially the earlier seasons. So that car is pretty cool. I couldn't get a Canyonero, but I could get the Simpsons car. So
all right, Tamara says that Martin got the Jurassic and you got the Simpsons.
No, both are incorrect.
And she's so smart. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Clint says that Martin got the Jeep and you got the Olympics, but we know at least half of that is wrong. Right?
Yeah, half of that is wrong. That's right.
Half of that is wrong. The other half may be wrong too, but at least half of it's wrong. All right, so RJ says you got the Jetson car and Martin got the Spaceman car. No, we already know that's not right.
Yep. Maybe you could let them go for a bit and see if you get one at the end. See how you go.
Well, I only have like 6 chats that I can see at a time. So if it zooms on by,
okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the YouTube chat. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'll let you monitor who the winner is.
I'm not going to monitor.
Jeez. You just okay. Oh, Ramsey says that you got the taxi. You got the Olympic taxi.
That is correct. So that's one.
All right.
So someone needs to work out what the other one is now. And you can't just spam it. I don't want to see people spamming every possible combination.
Right. That's right. All right.
That's how it usually goes.
All right. So you got the taxi from Japan. Did Martin get the Simpsons? That's what Clint says.
No.
Okay.
People are running out of combinations.
Well, yeah. Scott has no idea what they're guessing on. What you're guessing on, Scott, it's really simple. You're guessing on which one of these cars was Martin's and which one of those cars was Tim's. And you've got the Jurassic Park Jeep on the far left. And then next to it, the white is a racing car that came with the racing set. And then next to that is the black taxi from Japan. And next to that is a Tesla, the space car Tesla. And next to that, the red one is a racing car that came with the set. And next to that, the lime green one is the Simpsons mobile. And then next to that is the Dodge Ram truck. And we've already identified one of the correct answers. The trick is, what is the other correct answer?
You see, it's a very loaded question and a very, very tricky question, because if you know us personally, you might pick certain cars. Like Carlos might be thinking that he's got the correct car, but he may in fact be incorrect. So
that was my
for
guess.
those that are out there watching.
My guess was Martin was the Tesla. It was a slam dunk.
Well, that's what you'd think, right? But
that's what I would think. Yep. But apparently that's not right.
So we're sitting there formulating, well, what cars do we get for this amazing vMix raceway? And it's like, well, there's one car that we have to get. There's one, and that's it. So the rest of the cars I purchased based on what I wanted to get and what I thought was cool. So
all right, well, it's time for a hint. It's time for a hint.
It's time for a hint. There's only a certain number of combinations that it can be. There's literally 7 cars there.
No. Was the car that Martin chose in the race?
No. Bum, bum, bum.
All right. M-Pop says Martin got the white car. No, we know that's not right because the white car wasn't the white car was in the race, wasn't it? Yeah, it came with the racetrack.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is exciting live streaming for anybody that's watching this after the fact.
Yeah, that's right.
None of this was planned. However, this was planned. So let's just do this for a bit as we wait for the answer.
Tick. Is this live? Is this a live show?
No. This is from many years ago.
Okay.
Many
All right.
years ago.
Ken said that Martin got the truck.
Hey!
All right.
Well done. You are a winner.
And that is Ken Richard.
Congratulations.
Ken is works with this. I think it's this. I'm going to mispronounce it. He works with the company that makes dum-dums, the little lollipops.
Oh, really?
Isn't that cool? Yeah, he sent me a whole bunch of them.
There
By the way, Ken, I am out. I need some more. You can't have enough dum-dums. I mean, yeah, really. We've had to supplement with Smarties, so it's that kind of thing. All right, so very good.
So there you go. So when we were organizing all of these cars, we're a big fan of Tesla here. I don't have a Tesla, but big fan of Tesla. I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park. That was pretty close. Martin's ringtone is the Jurassic Park theme. So if they knew that, then they might have thought that. I was actually in Japan and I bought the taxi for the 2020 Olympics, which was on at the time, but is no longer on. So maybe it'll be worth something one day, or maybe it will be worth nothing. But Simpsons fan, but yeah, we really wanted that. We're big fans of the movie Twister, and so we had to get that red Dodge Ram 1500. Although it's not the same as the one in the movie, it was the closest one that I could possibly find on Amazon without spending $400 on a toy car, which I thought was a little bit irresponsible. So we
I'm sorry, how much?
One, and they're so expensive. Like the Matchbox cars, what's the Hot Wheels? So the Hot Wheels make a lot of different types of Matchbox cars, and they have rare ones and that sort of thing. So this to find a specific one, if you really need one that's a rare sort of car, they're quite expensive. I don't think it was $400, but it was close to $100, some of them, if not more. So by the time I got to Australia, it was quite expensive, and I couldn't quite justify spending that much money on a toy car. Call me crazy.
Kyle, you're crazy. What do you think?
Yeah.
Ken says it's the Spangler Candy Company. So there we go. Yep. Ken, I was thinking about that it was Spangler, but then I remembered that was Daryl's last name, who owns Mobile Video Devices, which has got the Magewell franchise here in the U.S. And I didn't want to miscall it. So thank you for correcting me. All right. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way. Holy cow. It was just, like an albatross just hanging over us the whole time. So now we know whose trucks and cars belong together. And we know that we don't know.
Yeah, they started bringing them out here. The Dodge started bringing out Rams here for some reason. I don't know why, but I've seen a bunch on the road just recently. So who knows why.
Well, there you go. So I think we're going to start, and I'm not including you in this, Tim. So you're absolved of any guilt and responsibility. But I think we're going to start a pool on when vMix 24 beta will be released. So if you're watching and you're a member of the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook, we'll put the pool there, and you can guess. And if you win, there'll be a suitable prize. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe a mouse pad, because I got a bunch of them, and I got a big old bottle of alcohol, so we can handle those mouse pads and make them safe and ready to go. Of course, it may take the print right off them. So has there been any discussion that you can share with us? I mean, it's just us guys talking about vMix 25. Now that 24 is pretty well, dialed in, nailed. Is there a discussion of 25 amongst you guys already?
There's always discussion about the future, but it's again, with all this stuff that's happened in the last month or two, it's kind of been focused on vMix 23 to be honest. And then yeah,
Interesting.
everything was mostly done for vMix 24. We have a very select few people that we've given the like a early beta to.
Right.
So if you didn't get one of those, don't be upset. They're very, I don't know the right way to put it without offending everybody in the chat right now. So I'm just going to move on from that. So let's just say that there's a few people that have the beta. Tom isn't one of them.
I
So
am not one of them.
If you hold Tom in high regard, they're even in more high regard than Tom. So yeah, so we have some very, very few people, like less than 5, less than 4. I don't know. Very few people that have just been testing it for us. And
I'm gonna email those guys tonight and see if they I bet 3 of them.
And so just to kind of everybody that we kind of like, it was done, but then it wasn't done. It's just a matter of kind of getting everything fine-tuned to how people would want to use it, especially the replay stuff. It's very specific to certain controllers and hardware and that sort of thing that people would want to use it for. So it's yeah, we had it all done, and then all of this stuff kind of happened. So the beta would have been out, but it's kind of like 24 got completed, and then we had to go back to working on 23 again. So 25 is kind of, still there, but it's kind of pushed back a little bit to.
Carlos wants to know when 30 is coming
out. Yeah. Well, 30 can come out when you're
right after 20.
When Disneyland opens again. How's that sound?
Yeah,
whenever that might be.
Sometime after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, but it's one of those things. It's an ongoing thing. Like, we have ideas and whiteboards and things that have been suggested in the past that may not be mature enough, and so we always have different things on the back burner, different technologies that we might be able to use in the future and that sort of thing. So it's an ongoing sort of process.
I remember when it was in the feature request forum. And by the way, if you guys want to make a suggestion of what vMix should have in it, a feature, then you need to put it in the chat now, because Tim and Martin pay exclusive attention to the chat on Streaming Idiots. Yeah. That's virtually the only place they look for new ideas. But before that happened, before that was well established as it is now, the feature request section of the vMix forum used to be the place where people would make those suggestions. And there was a thread that I think went on for 3 or 4 years that ultimately ended up becoming vMix Call. And it probably had several hundred posts in it over that time period. And Martin replied with it, and it was this dialogue that went in that you could just sort of see the whole evolution of vMix Call as it came from just a concept to fruition, and today still being improved. Just absolutely lovely, and I can't wait to see what the next. At some point you have to just run out of big features to put in there. Although I guess maybe you have, and that's why vMix Instant Replay is getting such a good hard look. Although, there's nothing like taking something that's already successful and making it better. But you think?
Well, people are never satisfied, so that's human nature, Whether we've learnt very quickly that even if people don't have the capacity, like technological capacity to do something, or even the workflow understanding of what it would take to put together a production of X sort of quality or caliber, they want to do it anyway. So it's kind of like tempering expectations for people and saying, well, yeah, you want to do 8 camera instant replay, but there's probably the people that want to do that may not necessarily be capable of doing it. So it's kind of rushing into features that people say they want but might not actually use. It's a little bit difficult. Like there's a lot of sort of a process to kind of working out what features are going to be best for everybody, and what we can enrich to a point that we'd be happy with, as opposed to kind of just rushing in and slapping out 40 different products and not making them as good as we'd hoped. So yeah, it's fun. Like you do see a lot of people and a lot of requests, especially lately, coming in saying, "Oh, we want, you know, 95 vMix calls on my i3 Celeron, or my what other their Chromebook, or you know, whatever else, whatever chipset or whatever laptop they're using." And it's difficult to explain as to why that's not possible. So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to take it, and take a real good look at it to make sure that a feature is going to be worthwhile, um, to upgrade, because it's the same sort of thing with like video calling. It's difficult to rush into it because it's peer to peer, and so like if you try to add 20, 40, you know, your computer's still processing that video and that sort of thing. So it's a bit of a process, to make that good, as opposed to bringing in something like Zoom or Skype that is all run through centralized servers and, controlled that way with, you know, billions and billions of dollars worth of equipment,
Right.
That surprisingly we don't have. So yeah, so yeah, it's a bit different.
Well, as I hear you talking, I'm thinking, you know, are there new ideas out there that have yet to be discovered? Do you think? I mean, do you think vMix 27 or 28 will have one of these next big thing ideas in it? Not knowing what it is, do you think is there anything new yet to be created? Or have we already thought of it all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that with technology, I think that's the main sort of catalyst for change and improvement with different software. Um, who knows what people will bring out, or what NVIDIA might do, or what Intel might do, or AMD might do, that'll give people capabilities to do more stuff and more creative things that might have required dedicated hardware in the past, but now it can be done with a chip on a GPU, or you know, some sort of new, architecture that they're using that might be able to change the game and do things slightly differently. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm sure will come up in the next little while, that will be different and exciting, hopefully.
Gotcha. Somebody asked me today about vMix 24 and instant replay, since the replay was going to go from 4 to 8 cameras. Was vMix 4K going to be increased to 4 cameras? Is there any consideration of that?
I don't think so. I don't think we've really talked about that at length yet, but I wouldn't say so. Um, it's yeah, I'm not sure exactly. There's a few things to consider. If you kind of, this is maybe going to be difficult to explain, but I'll do my best. Sometimes if you have a product, that is available, say at a low end or a low price point, that has the capabilities of doing certain things, it might encourage everybody to rush out and try and do that thing with their i3 laptop or something like that. So the features that are for the higher end versions of vMix are kind of pointed towards more professional productions and people that have the technology and hardware to do those things. So yeah, plus obviously there's a lot more development and stuff that goes into the higher end features and that as well. So that's why they're in higher versions. So yeah, it's kind of a lot of a thought process in regards to what features get added to different positions at different price points and that as well. So yeah, hopefully that kind of made sense, but I'm not sure. We'll probably talk about it, but we haven't really got to that point of it being released and everything like that. So I wouldn't say so, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a greatly appreciated change when just recently you guys opened up the vMix 4K to 4 callers for the video call, for vMix call. That was
Yeah.
huge. That was a just a gift to the whole industry. You know, I have heard probably 20 positive comments about that since it happened, of people that have been so appreciative, that now, they were bumping their head up against with 2 callers, and they needed that 3rd caller, or they needed to go to 4. And the price difference between 4K and Pro was just a bridge too far for them. And then all of a sudden, at the right time, there's this gift from vMix that says, "Oh, here, we'll just double the number of callers you get." Holy cow, that was huge, Tim. That was.
Yeah, it's anytime you make decisions like this, like you can't. I don't know what these big companies do. Like, I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know how big companies determine how they charge things and how they assign features and how they do stuff. Like, it's a tough sort of business to be in. But I just that was another one as well where people sometimes maybe necessarily shouldn't be doing 4 callers on their laptops and that sort of thing. So I'm glad that people have been able to use it. But again, people need to kind of, make sure that they've got the capabilities of doing that. Like at the moment, we're running 1080 vMix to vMix, and I've seen it maybe a little bit glitchy every so often just because of, well, we thought we would just try it out, but we just don't know what network congestion's like between here and the other side of the world. So there's a lot of different factors to consider. And, when people start putting in 4 calls, you've got all this other, you've got maybe 4 different locations coming in with different types of network routes and points of presence and congestion and that sort of thing. So I'm glad that people have been able to use all 4 channels that have 4K. But again, I always say kind of use it with a little bit of caution as well, just to make sure that you've got the capabilities of actually running a good production with 4 callers as well. So, yeah, I'm glad that people have been able to use it. It was a decision that, we thought it would be a good idea to do, especially in this time with everybody trying to bring in remote guests and calling from home and all that kind of thing. So, yeah.
On behalf of all the vMix users out there that have 4K, thank you. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated, indeed. Greatly appreciated. All right, all these folks in the chat are talking about all the things they want in vMix now because they think that this chat is really something that vMix pays attention to. Oh, no. Seriously, if you want to make a suggestion, you've got to go to the vMix forum. You've got to go to the feature request section. And then go out and get all your friends to log into the forum and agree that whatever your idea was the greatest idea in the world, and put a +1 next. I saw my first -1 this week. I've never seen a -1.
I think
before.
I saw one of those too. Yeah, I saw that too. I don't know whether it was the same post, but I did see that. I was pretty impressed with that.
Very interesting. Like, no, we don't want this feature. Don't spend any time on this feature. Yeah. No, we had
it's kind of like the running theme is like, do you need it? Like a lot of people seem to be saying, I mean, it happens. Like, oh, I would love to have that, but there's 0.01% of the population that would actually be able to use that particular feature, like to its full extent. Like, I'm sure it would be great to have, 8K streaming for everybody, but no one in the world wants it or can use it. But it seems great. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's a matter of working out whether it's good for people. And if you do include that feature, or if you open something up, are you going to cause more hassles and problems for everybody else, let alone us? So yeah, I can understand a -1. That was the first time I'd seen it too. So good for you, whoever you were that did a -1. It just spices up the forums, which is what you want.
I think it was Jan. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not buying him dinner No, sir. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, what else? What else are we going to talk about? Why don't you
I
ask
don't
me
know. It's
some
your show.
questions? I know. Ask me some questions. Do y'all do knock knock jokes down in Australia?
Yeah, that's a thing. But I mean, maybe if you're in primary school or something. I'm not sure.
My dad's favorite knock knock joke was like this. He'd say, I got a great knock knock joke. You start. So go ahead, Tim. You start.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Hatch.
And he would laugh and laugh and laugh. He just thought that was the funniest thing.
Oh, that's the joke.
Yeah, that's the joke. Because the other person's like, he just thought that it just tickled him. I think he made that one up himself too. Yeah, he was quite a comedian.
I can see where you got your sense of humor from.
Not only that, but I've infected the world with it. All three of my sons have the exact same sense of humor, and both my grandsons are growing into it too. So it's just, we've got our own little virus thing going. In 50 years, we'll take over North America.
Great.
Yeah. Because humor's a good thing. Humor helps us get by. It does. It helps us keep things in perspective.
Sure does.
Okay. Oh, Joe DeMax is in the chat. Welcome, Joe. Glad to have you. All right. So you don't have any questions for me, and we've talked about
not particularly
all the features. Do you think IBC is going to happen in the fall? September? Amsterdam?
No.
Okay. You think?
I can't see it happening. I got an email from Petra yesterday, and she was saying that they've just extended. There's like no large gatherings in the Netherlands until the 1st of September. So
wow.
I just can't imagine them putting on a 60,000 person trade show 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later or whatever it is. It just makes no sense.
What about NAB New York?
Really want to be big.
Same thing.
I mean, we're fairly pessimistic because it's just we don't know. I can't see things kind of returning to normal, and no one knows. I mean, I don't want to get on any sort of like soapbox here in regards to, public health initiatives and worldwide pandemic information, but it's just no one knows what's going to happen. And if there's no vaccine by the end of the year, then people are going to be traveling potentially to areas and continue to spread different things or pick it up. And you'd have to quarantine. If we left here, we'd have to quarantine 2 weeks before the trade show, do the trade show, come home, and then quarantine another 2 weeks or 3 weeks potentially after that. So I'm sure people will try and, do it and create these shows and stuff like that. But I'm not sure. I'm not an expert, so it might all happen. Everyone might try and make it all work, but I'm not sure. I don't expect it to happen, but we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, it's quite a bit different having a trade show and not being there versus not having the show and so nobody's there. In this case, everybody's missing out. Nobody gets to see the latest, greatest thing in person because nobody's there to do it. So everybody's trying to find these alternative methods.
Yeah.
So, I think vMix could ride through missing NAB last week, or I guess it would have ended today, and missing IBC, and maybe that won't hurt you guys. It certainly might make life a little simpler not to have to travel halfway across the world.
Yeah,
twice.
I mean, for those that know me, they know that the month leading up to NAB is like the worst month of the year. Like there's just so many different things that have to happen, and there's so much stress prior to NAB. So I have said to people, like, I definitely don't miss that stress. the organization and making sure that, we have, 6 to 8 computers all working and capture cards and signs and booths, and we don't have things exploding in the booth like we did like 3 years ago, and we have electricity like we didn't have last year, and they print the right graphics like they didn't last year. So those kind of things are just a welcome change, not to have those kind of stresses for NAB, but I would prefer those stresses than everything that's going on right now that people have, what everybody's going through. So, but yeah, it's nice to not have that stress, but it's also, it's just nice to see people as well. Like, we're fairly isolated here in Australia. So it's nice to be able to travel and visit everybody and hang out and just chat. We'll miss everybody, miss seeing you, and miss seeing everybody else at NAB, Seth and Judith. And we had a bunch of all-stars lined up. I think I mentioned this previously, but we had a bunch of all-stars, additional people that we haven't had in the booth before that were going to help us out, overseas people, other people from the States. So we were kind of looking forward to having everybody on board and having a good time. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen now. So, yeah.
Well, 2022.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. It's like even opening up NAB next year, like 2021,
right?
Like, we just don't know what everything's going to be like until then. Like, if there's no vaccine by then you're still traveling. Like, it's still a risk to be traveling, and
right,
and that sort of thing. Like, we couldn't get travel insurance, for example. Like, if there's no sort of measure against this, then we travel completely blind. If we get over there and something happens, we have to go to hospital. It costs us, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the US system and that sort of thing. So, yeah, all of my flights that we had going to NAB, last week, the airline is now under administration. So the airline that I was actually flying is now no longer exists. So I can't get any sort of travel back, potentially, like credit back, unless someone buys them out. And
right.
So we eventually have that airline back running again, but it's looking pretty slim. So all of our travel plans and even the credit, we don't have. So it's a bit hard to risk, planning our entire trip to IBC when all of that could fall through by the time,
right.
September rolls around. And we've got, it's expensive for us to get to Europe.
I bet.
Accommodation, travel, all that kind of stuff. Getting other people on board like yourself, in previous years of having multiple people travel to it. If all that gets cancelled, then you just get stuck. So it's stressful. We don't know what'll happen, but yeah, tough one.
Well, maybe we all need to go to Australia. That way you wouldn't have to travel.
Yeah, but you can't get in. I don't think that I don't think they'd like to let you in. Plus, then you would have to quarantine for a couple of weeks and stuff as well. So,
gotcha. So, post-vaccine, got it. Okay.
No one knows. Everybody's kind of. I find it hard that people are saying, "Oh, we'll be fine in a month." Let's open everything up. Everything's going to be good in a month, and I don't know where it's coming from. Like, there's no science to back that up, and I don't understand it. So, find it a little bit confusing. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. But we'll just be hanging out here in Australia, doing our own thing and working on stuff. So.
Well, there's a request in the chat to tell the story of the explosion at the trade show. Was that IBC this past fall? Something exploded at IBC this past fall. Because I remember it was all over the wall. Together,
but yeah, well, you can explain that one. This could have. I mean, this is not entirely to do with it, but that could be. That's got something to do with it. That could be the who we had in charge of our booth at that time, and that's why there was an explosion at IBC. But that's a different story. At NAB 3-4 years ago, maybe, one of the cranes that was setting up the lighting system for the booth next door to us ran into the fire extinguisher system. And so it exploded the water all over the booths, like our booth and other areas and stuff like that. So that was a fun experience. So thankfully ours didn't get, because they have like everything down, like carpet, like covering carpet, and we didn't have much equipment up, so it didn't affect it. But I think the booth next to us got completely ruined. So yeah, that was one of the water explosion experiences at the booth.
That was the year that you
terrible,
had the live streaming set in your booth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I remember. I think that was either 2016 or 2017. Probably 16. Yeah, cool. All right, so there you go. There's the story of the explosions, or at least one of them. Yep. vMix is just an explosive type of outfit. You just never know what's going to happen. Yep. Oh, Maggie remembers. She remembers what it was in the fall. Yep. There we go. So, folks, it's been a treat to have Tim on tonight, and it gets even better than Tim, because tomorrow we're doing a special edition of the Streaming Idiots show. Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern, Maggie and Miranda, a double whammy, will be on the Streaming Idiots show, talking about X keys and probably talking about IBC and NAB and bowling and whatever else we can figure out to talk about. So you'll want to tune in for them, not for me, but for them. You know, Tim will be watching. He's a big Maggie and Miranda fan. Yep. So
they hijacked my show, so I don't know whether I'm much of a fan of them, but they you can check them out if you want to see them. You can check them out every Friday or Thursday night, primetime US Thursday night, on our Facebook page if you want to check out Maggie and Miranda.
That's
right. If you can't get enough Maggie and Miranda, then yeah, you can check out our petrol prices, which is surprisingly poignant at the moment. We're kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to reporting on petrol pricing. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about petrol pricing, tune into our live stream every Friday or Thursday night.
What time?
It's at 8 p.m. Eastern, typically.
8 p.m. Eastern, and they would go to the vMix Facebook page to see this live stream?
That's correct. Facebook.com/vMixHD to check out the live stream. All right. We're thinking about crossing it over to YouTube as well, just because of the demand, the sheer demand for petrol price live streams. So I don't know whether the world's ready for that yet. So we might just keep sticking to Facebook.
That's why the Facebook servers are so finicky on Thursday nights then. Yeah.
That's right. It. Yeah.
Got it.
That's right. And that's one thing that people haven't really talked about or considered much over the last few months, is that, everybody's struggling with this. Like every single major content provider or platform, network, OTT, everybody's struggling with trying to provide the bandwidth for everybody. So I know I've had personal problems with Discord, Twitch, Facebook, not so much with YouTube, but every single provider has had issues in the past month or two. So, yeah, that's something that people need to consider as well. Like, oh, why isn't vMix Social working? It's like, well, it is working, but we're not getting any sort of Facebook response back or something like that. So that's been fun, trying to diagnose those sort of things when it's got nothing to do with us. It's all sort of third-party issues. So yeah, everybody's kind of struggling with the amount of bandwidth and data that's floating around the internet right now. So it's not just us. And if you are having problems with something, then let us know. We can have a look into it. But a lot of the times it has been, third-party problems as well. So something to keep in mind if you're trying to troubleshoot something.
There you have it. And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, they would send an email to info@vmix.com. Is that the current best address?
No, I think it's, I don't know what it is. There's a contact page on our website that people can go to. it's best if they go that way.
Okay.
Support@vmix.com apparently is our email address. But it's best to kind of go through that contact form. If you put something in the message that might have a knowledge base article that you can actually look at as opposed to emailing it, it'll pop up and say, hey, maybe you should check out these articles, which will save us time and also save you time. So if somebody's trying to find something specific that they haven't, which they probably should have searched for prior on our like knowledge base or forums or YouTube tutorials, then that will pop up once they try and send that message, so they can have a look at some suggestions.
I've been guilty of that
prior to
twice in the last 2 weeks. Getting a return email from you guys saying, look at the knowledge base article, except y'all were much more gracious in how you worded it. So yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on there. Like there's probably too much information on there. People just like give up. They're like, oh, I couldn't be bothered spending 20 seconds searching. So they
but it's got a neat little search right at the top. So if you want to search and find out about why YouTube is giving you this message, you go to the knowledge base and you just put YouTube in there, and it brings up all the knowledge base articles on YouTube. That's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Have a look through your chat. Have you got any exciting chat any questions that people want to know? Somebody said more stingers in 24.
Yeah, and transitions.
Yeah, so trying to work on something around those sort of lines for 24. For stingers and that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens with that. What else have we got? Any other questions here? There's a dispute as to who was correct with the right guess. So you're going to have to go back through this chat and work out who the first person was to get it right.
Okay.
So people were angry. Robert asked about the new Ryzen 4 laptops. So the Ryzen 7 and the Ryzen 9 4800 and 4900 laptops. I talked about them really briefly on the show yesterday. We have a 4800S, whichever one it is, on pre-order. So we don't know how long that will take to come in. But the new Ryzen 7 and Ryzen 9 with the NVIDIA GPUs look to be quite good. And really affordable as well. So like $1,200 US will get you a pretty decent sort of laptop that would be equivalent to one of the i7s that we have on the website at the moment. So that's something to look forward to. We're excited about trying it out. But again, obviously, temper expectations as to the actual quality of it. We'll see whether it's going to be as good as we hope. But all of the reviews, like if you get online, have a look at some reviews of the 4900 HS, I think they are. I know Linus Tech Tips has got one, and then there's probably another 20 or 30 other high-profile YouTubers that have done tests on the Zephyrus 14 laptop. So if people want to have a look before they actually get released, want to have a look around at those, you can check those out. So hopefully we'll have one sometime next month that we can do some testing on and recommend. Again, they won't have Thunderbolt because they're not Intel, but a lot of people are just using USB and NDI, so it's not that much of a concern anymore. Other questions? We had a question about 1080-60 with a good low light and recommendations. I think it's from the same person actually. Yeah, the Z90 that we have, the Sony, that's fairly good in low light as well. We've used that across the board, and a lot of people use the Z90 or the X70. We also have one of those as well, so they're very, very popular. You don't have a X70, do you?
No.
I think, does RJ have one? I think a few people in Streaming Idiots have the X70.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good camera. That's pretty, like, you can take them anywhere. The HDMI, SDI, they have a 4K upgrade as well that you can pay for the X70. I don't know. I think the Z90 comes with it already in the firmware. So that's a good little camera. You can probably ask around on the Streaming Idiots as well as to whether that's really good in low light. We haven't had any problems with it in low light, but just depends on your situation, I suppose. Do you see any other questions that need answering? Asus question mark. Asus question mark. Yes. The ones that have been reviewed, the Asus Republic of Gamers, it's Zephyrus 14, I believe, is the one that they kind of did a mass release on at CES, and everybody had a look at them. We've got an Asus Tough Gaming. It's the 4800, so it's not the top of the line. It's the Ryzen 7. I'm assuming that the new Zephyrus ones, the Republic of Gamers, will be their Ryzen 9 4900. So we'll see what happens. They release a bunch of them. Like they release a ton of one specific model, but then 3 months later, they release all the different variants of it. So the one that they've released is a 14-inch, which is a little bit too small. It doesn't have a number pad. So I think we purchased a 15.6 or 15, whatever the next size up is. So I think most people would. What's your preferred size? 15, 17-inch laptop?
17.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, there's no 17s on the market at the moment. They're all pre-order.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see what those are like. So I wouldn't go out and buy one yet. Wait till we've got one. Let us waste our money first. I always tell people that, like, let us blow our money on laptops and see if they're worthwhile. And if they are, then you can look into buying them. So yeah, it looks like RJ's got three X70s. Thumbs up, thumbs down on those, RJ? I think he likes them, doesn't he?
I think he does.
They're fairly good.
He's got 3 of them.
Well, that's true. That's true. I don't know whether there's any other questions. There's some about NAB New York, fingers crossed, from Kyle. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to meet up again. Like, that's the thing. Like, each of these trade shows kind of have their own pockets of people that you meet up with. I know Kyle comes to Las Vegas as well most of the time, but it's nice to each sort of trade show has its own. I don't know, what are they? What are you, cast of characters? You know, they have their own sort of people that you meet up with, like
the usual
Cliff,
suspects.
You know, when Cliff shows up, usual suspects. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. So when Cliff decides to show up, I know Cliff isn't watching right now, but if Cliff is watching this in the future, when Cliff decides to show up to NAB in New York, it's nice to talk to him too. But yeah, we have a bunch of people that show up from, you know, that sort of region, you know, around that area, you know, where Paul and Tess are, around Pennsylvania, and different sort of schools and that sort of thing from up north, the Northeast. So it's nice to catch up with those people. Any other exciting questions at all? I'm sorry, I'm just having a look through your chat.
Yeah. Well, I can see the last 4 or 5 questions. Mike's asking if you've tried the HP Omen laptops.
Yeah, they're actually pretty good. I went into Martin's. I spoke to him the other day and said, you know, we need a laptop. These videos that we've got on there are from 2018, but it's kind of every time, I was saying on the show yesterday, every time a new chip comes out, it's only slightly better than the last one. And the laptops I've got from 3 and 4 years ago are still really good. So it's like, try and find, you know, the laptop that you can find that kind of fits the specs that we recommend, you know, i7s and dedicated graphics and that sort of thing. So yeah, we've been trying to recommend ones, and we bought the HP Omen for IBC, and we were going to buy another one this week, but it's the same. It's like the same laptop that we bought last year, so there's no real improvements on it, and we know that works fine. So yeah, the HP Omens are good. We know tons of people that use them. So they're good little laptops. They're lightweight. Just make sure you get the ones with the right specs and an NVIDIA dedicated GPU on them. The one that we had everything: G-Sync, 1060 or a 1070, an i7. It was they're great laptops. They're sitting in our storage shed in Amsterdam. So yeah, those are good.
The next time you guys go to a trade show, you're going to spend 3 days updating Windows.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's always super long. Yeah, but yeah. So I'm only seeing the YouTube chat, so I don't know what's happening on Facebook. But
Yeah,
What
we've
else have
got
we
the Eastern
got?
Shore Broadcasting page hooked up into. Oh no, you're just on literally on the YouTube chat. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Jeffrey wants to know about vMix
Somebody,
Cloud, and Robert wants to know about can you use 8 NDI cameras in the new instant replay? And Ramsey wants to know what you think about the GeForce 1650 Ti. So there's 3 good questions. Pick your
somebody
favorite.
also asked about the the falling sheep transition
Yeah,
from
that was
Mutech.
Clint.
Well, we've considered getting a banana banana wipe for the vMix, but we never got around to it. It's not really it's not a super high priority, and if we want to do it, you got to do it right to make sure it looks good. And
Oh,
getting
I've
that
got
done
a
properly,
question.
yeah.
I've got a question
Okay.
because I really feel like I got cheated, and
Okay.
I was kind of ticked off about it because you guys decided to, in the spirit of the of the times, you
Mhm.
didn't do anything for the 1st of April.
I know. I was very disappointed. Very, very disappointed.
I mean, I had been looking forward to that for 60 days. For 2 months, I was like, oh man, what is vMix going to do this year for April 1st?
Yeah.
I just, it's got to be good. I mean, after what was it, the voice activated software from, was that last year or
Yeah.
the year before?
That was
Holy
last
cow,
year, yeah.
that was amazing. And then the banana taking over as the CEO of vMix, that was priceless. So I just couldn't
And
wait.
vMix Power. I don't know whether you
And
remember
vMix
Power at
Power,
all.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean,
We're going to turn that back on for like the day, but just never got around to it. Just too busy doing stuff.
I mean, there are people that really wanted it. They were willing to
Yeah.
pay money for it. So
Yep.
maybe you could do something like 6 months from April 1st, kind of a tardy April 1st.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be
Like
October 1st.
we had a bunch of ideas. Like we had a stack of ideas that we were going to run with. Some of them were a little bit more extreme. It's like, oh, I've got this great idea, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty extreme. I don't think we should pull that off. I don't remember what. I know the one that we were going to do, and it was we already had a name for it. We had everything ready to go. We didn't buy the domain yet, but we can still buy the domain. And then, yeah, it was going to take a fair chunk of development work to do. So that's why it kind of didn't happen anyway. But we'll keep it on the cards. And it was insanely prescient. Like it was like insanely like for the time. Like we had no idea that any of this pandemic stuff was going to happen, but it was like bang on, perfect for people working at home, and yeah, and yeah, just unfortunately it didn't happen. So maybe next year. It's pretty good. I thought it was good. It was my idea, so I thought it was good. Obviously, a good idea. So
that's
yeah,
that's right. Oh my goodness.
So don't worry, we were as disappointed as you were for that. So.
Okay.
So people are saying, "Oh, any news on vMix Cloud?" So it just depends on what you mean by that. We have a knowledge base article. I think you linked to it. If people really want to set up an Amazon EC2 instant and run it and set it all up and that sort of thing. So,
yep.
Yeah.
We had a show about that
people
last
can
week.
Do that if they really want.
Had four folks come in.
The 1650 Ti, it just depends on what you're using, what you're wanting to do, really. The 1650 Ti is probably like the lowest you'd go. It just depends on what you're wanting to do. If that's for a laptop, that's a kind of a typical entry level dedicated GPU on a laptop, which will work fine. But yeah, if you're building a PC, you probably want to look at something a little bit beefier. But again, it just really depends on what you want to do and how much money you've got and all that kind of thing. How is performance on the XPS desktops? We don't have one. I've never actually used an XPS desktop, so I'm not sure. Basically, if you look at the main sort of cornerstones of building a PC, the CPU, the GPU, the RAM, and see what you've got there. And typically, if it's going to be above board or match what we kind of recommend, then it's going to be fine. So yeah, haven't used one or haven't seen the specs on what they run. I don't know whether they're workstation ones or whether they're consumer PCs, but yeah, just have a look at the specs. Or people can always email us with specs. So we get like 100 a day. I've got this computer. Will it work? If you've already got it, just use the trial and see how it works. If you don't have the trial, or if you don't have the computer yet and want a second opinion, feel free to email us. Questions here. Sorry, this is good live streaming. I think this always happens when I come on here. I just sit here and read this. New machine for replay because of this improvement, maybe Threadripper. So funny story about the Intel versus Threadripper. So AMD was always cheaper than Intel. Intel was more expensive. But then this really weird thing happened where they kind of flipped, and the Intel i9s are now cheaper than the Threadrippers, but the Threadrippers are like more powerful. So you've kind of got this thing where it's like, oh, well, if you've got the money and you want that extra power, then maybe look at a Threadripper. But the i9s are at a cheaper price point, and they kind of, if you're using them just for vMix, you're still going to get throttled at a certain point with the amount of like data transfer you've got for all of the video channels. So it's cheaper and probably more effective to buy the i9 because it's cheaper and you're going to have the same limitations. Whereas if you were using the Threadripper for rendering or any sort of crazy post-production work, as well as vMix, you'd go the Threadripper, if that makes sense. So you've got more power with the Threadripper, but for vMix itself, they're going to be pretty similar. And because the i9's cheaper, it's probably easier to go with that 10980XE chip that we had on the show yesterday. But we do have a Threadripper. We have I'm just losing track of these numbers. The 32 core Threadripper is what we've got. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it's more powerful. But again, probably matched what you'd need for vMix. So that's my answer for the Threadripper. Again, once we have the beta finished, we'll probably be able to go into a little bit more explanation as to comparison to those two. What else do we got? Yeah, so I mean, it's one of the things people want modular features with vMix. So they want to be able to add one replay or they want to add one call, and it just becomes a nightmare to update. So we've stuck with this model for a long time, and I'm sure we'll probably stick to it for the foreseeable future. Just adding singular things on just makes things impossible to update. So if you kind of have vMix 22 point whatever, and then you have one call, but then you've thrown on an extra call, then that's a totally separate product to somebody that's only got the one call, and trying to then build a new system just for updating modular features is just, it's kind of out of the realm of things that we want to be concerned about. So yeah, that's my explanation for that one. Sorry, I'm just reading things. Have you got any other questions that you can see?
I'm all asked out.
Somebody wants to know the 1660 Ti 6 gigabytes versus the 2060 6 gigabyte performance expectations. I haven't seen a direct shootout of those. You could take a look at what's it called? One of the many benchmark websites that will pit them up against each other. Obviously, the 1660 Ti is going to be a slightly newer card. The 2060 is going to have RTX. So, if in the future vMix is able to kind of utilize some of the differentiations in the RTX versus the GTX card. It might be handier to have the RTX card, but the 1660 Ti might actually be faster for most things. So yeah, it just depends. So up to you. But they're both good cards. They'll both have two encoding capabilities on them for the hardware encode. So yep. I haven't, the people that are asking about the 8 NDI, all the stuff that we've had is just baseband SDI ingest onto that Corvid 88. So I don't want to speculate or say anything about the 8 NDI without fully testing that out. I don't know what Martin's done, but I haven't done any sort of testing on that yet. So maybe we can look at doing 8 NDI or different configurations for that and letting people know what it's going to be like.
It's going to be a network buster. You're going to have to get a 10 gig
Yeah, well,
network.
that's right. Yeah, if you have, oh yeah, because if you've got 1080 over the network plus you've got 60, so that's, yeah, again, more, you're going to need a pretty gnarly network for that. Yeah, I think that's about it for questions. Someone posted today. Yeah, I don't know. I did see that someone said that on one of your Facebook pages that NVIDIA are trying to increase the amount of hardware encodes on the chip. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about that, so I'm not going to speculate whether that's
that would be an interesting thought.
I can't see why they would, but who knows?
Well, maybe they're trying to give back to the community, like vMix. They're following your lead. Yeah. Or not, as the case may be. Well, look, I got to go.
So do I.
Well, I was just going to say, you could just hang out here with the guests you can become the host and the guest and answer questions until lunch.
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of stuff to do. There's probably thousands of emails in there that need to be answered. So
I can't imagine.
Should probably go ahead and
holy cow,
answer those. But yeah, if people do have support requests or anything or any emails they want to get in contact with us, try and be as descriptive as possible. The amount of emails that we get that just say, "I have problem, please fix?" ? Like verbatim, like that's exactly what we get. It saves us time and you time if you can provide us with screenshots, an actual error message, what you're actually trying to do. Always handy, so we can at least help diagnose that quicker than what it will take to go back and forth. So if we can have as much information as possible, error messages, screenshots, even video of something that you're trying to do, explain what you're trying to do, and then that way we can potentially answer that in a single email as opposed to going back and forth trying to answer it. So that's something that if you want a quicker response, then that's a good way to go about it.
Would you suggest that people send a report prior to an email?
Not necessarily. Okay. Okay.
I didn't know if that was
because
helpful.
Oh, I know. It's just a matter of I don't really want people spamming that and being like, I sent through 70 reports. Can you tell me what's wrong? So yeah.
Gotcha.
But if anybody wants, if people want a video or a video tutorial about how to do something, let me know and I can make that. I throw that out all the time and no one ever takes me up on it. So, I'll throw it out there again. If people have a tutorial request, just let me know and I can have a look at making it.
All right.
It's hard to do certain things, especially like third-party ones like Skype and Zoom, because they're third-party things. So I can tell you how to do it a specific way, but if something breaks along the way that isn't us, then it's a bit of a hassle.
There's always a caveat with it like that. Yeah. No, I'd love. I know you did one recently on Zoom, um, and
Yep.
I wonder if there's enough crossover, or if it's worth doing one on Microsoft Teams. They're very
Yeah, maybe. I don't
similar
have
in
a
that
Teams
sense.
account, so
It's free. You can get
mm,
one. I got one yesterday. Um,
right. Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
yep.
Yeah,
Because a lot of
those
people are using
those
Teams
specific
right
ones are
now.
really,
That's the thing.
yeah, those specific tutorials and stuff are really, really draining because it's like
Sure.
everything has to be set up. Like I have to have a separate computer set
Just
up that's
so.
running that
Yep.
particular software. I need to connect that in, and then I need to have that
Just to
running on
make the
another
demo.
computer as well.
Right. I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm running like I'm running multi-quarter with multiple cameras. I'm running dual records for dual desktop captures as well. Um, and then once that's all done, I've got to line up 4 tracks, a video, and then yeah, edit the whole thing. So it's great fun. But I'll put that on the list, but it'll probably be down the list a fair bit.
Okay. All right. Down the list it
Cool.
goes. Down the list it goes. Well, you're Prince.
Yep.
Thanks for taking the time to come on the show today. Please.
It's all right. Sorry, I wasn't very excited. It's been a draining couple of weeks. So.
Yeah. Yeah, you're all right. We like you just the way you are. Give our best to Martin. And
I will.
I did have the picture of Martin. I guess I better show that in case you guys missed it. There is the Martin shot. The Martin shot. So you can, if you missed last night's, if you missed last night's vMix Funtime live show, you can find it on YouTube. And if you are a liker of the vMix Facebook page, there's a link in that Facebook page to the vMix Funtime live show YouTube version.
Did you make any of these?
No.
This is from last year.
I was going to. No. I mean, I was that close to pulling the trigger on it when you said it's probably going to be canceled, and you were right. That was like January or something, early on. If y'all want to know the future, pay attention to what Tim says, because he really is dialed in. You know, he's got this he's got this petrol pricing thing way before it was the thing to do. So yeah, you want to get dialed in with Tim. But thank you for taking time to come on today. I really appreciate it. We would love to have you tune in as a viewer tomorrow. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and watch the Streaming Idiot show with Miranda and Maggie and me, the 3 M's.
Yeah, it's what no, they're on my show after that, so you can warm them up and make sure they're ready to go, and then they can come on my show. How's that sound?
Well, or they could be just all talked out by then.
They won't be. No offense, but they're going to save the good stuff for me.
They're going to save the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just have to work a little harder then. Okay. Got it. We'll do karaoke. That'll do it. And they'll just high expectations.
Someone asked for another vMix social tutorial. That's on a long list as well. It's we do have to replace that one. It's just that one takes forever to do as well. Anytime there's like third-party stuff that we have to work in, it just takes forever to do. Someone said change the color of your mouse cursor on tutorials. I agree. I did change it on the last one, but the problem is that the way that it's the monitors that I have here, I have my cursor huge and it's purple. Problem is that for some reason the Windows display is not picking that up on the actual desktop capture in vMix for the record. So I'm going to have to try and work that out. But no, 100% agree. And I have gone out of my way to make it giant. I've got this giant purple cursor, but it's just not picking up on the desktop. And it may be something to do with the way that vMix is picking it up. So yes, appreciate the feedback. And I'll do my best to make that bigger and more obvious and zoom in more. It's just that it takes a lot longer with editing a video to zoom into sections and then zoom back out. Like it's an extra, chunk of time to do that. So yeah. But thanks for the feedback.
Well, there you have it. There you have it.
Yep.
Well, Tim, I
Alrighty.
appreciate you, my friend. I miss seeing you.
Anytime.
And,
Yeah, it's a shame. Shame we don't get to meet up with everybody.
Yep. Yep. And we'll have to get together and figure out things moving forward.
Yeah.
It's going to work. It's going to work out okay, I think. Yep. All right, folks, we'll say goodbye to Tim and tune in tomorrow at some time for the petrol prices on Friday, Thursday night. So that's right, 8 o'clock Eastern. That's right. There you go. And then 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow for the Streaming Idiot Special Edition. It's going to be the M cubed, Miranda, Maggie, and me. And we will see you then. So we will fade out into oblivion now, and we'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow, and then we'll see you next week, and we'll see you the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. So take care. Bye now. Okay.